The story begins in the snowy Rocky Mountains of Colorado in 1957. In the middle of the white landscape stands a lonely phone booth. A young woman named Hope makes a call, saying she just had a strange dream. In the dream, she saw 7 numbers carved into the ice, but all she hears from the other end is static. Panicking, Hope hangs up the phone and walks away into the freezing air. The story then shifts to 1982 in North Denver. At a high school, a girl named Gwen watches a crowd of students gathered around a fight. Her brother, Finn, is beating up a new kid. When Gwen scolds him, Finn explains that the boy challenged him and he just wanted to prove a point. After the fight, the two walk home together. Soon, their friend Ernesto joins them and mentions he's going to a concert that night. Gwen admits she wants to go, but doesn't have money. Kindly, Ernesto offers her an extra ticket. Finn teases that it sounds like a date, but Gwen laughs and says Ernesto is just a good friend. That night, Finn watches TV alone. He seems uneasy and smokes weed to calm his anxiety from past trauma. Suddenly, a faint shadow of a man appears before him. When Gwen walks in, the figure vanishes instantly. The scene shifts to what looks like a dream or memory. A young boy on vacation with his family runs through the night, is chased through the woods by the grabber, who slashes the boy's body and dumps him in the lake. Before sinking, the boy scratches the letter W into the ice. It turns out to be Gwen's nightmare. She wakes up trembling and hears a phone ringing somewhere in the distance. Curious, she follows the sound. But before she can answer, Finn arrives and realizes she's sleepwalking. Gwen tells him about her dream, and Finn gently comforts her, telling her to rest. The next morning at school, Gwen becomes the target of jokes. Some classmates call her a witch because of her strange dreams. Ernesto approaches her with 2 concert tickets and asks if it's true that she can see things in her sleep. Surprised, Gwen asks how he knows. Ernesto says his parents heard it from the police after Robin's body was found in the same place Gwen had described from her dream. He quickly adds that he doesn't think she's weird, he actually admires her. Meanwhile, at a magazine shop, Finn receives a phone call from someone. Gwen later has another nightmare. A group of kids are playing near a frozen lake when one of them walks alone into the woods. Suddenly, he's attacked by the grabber. The boy can't fight back. His body is cut into pieces and burned, leaving the letter B carved into the ice. She wakes up gasping in fear, runs outside, and sees the broken body in the snow. Panicking, she grabs her bike and follows the sound of a ringing phone that echoes through the cold air. It leads her to an old abandoned building. Carefully, she crawls through a small gap in the wall and finds the source, an old phone still ringing in the dark. When Gwen answers, she hears the voice of a girl introducing herself as Hope. The name shocks her. Gwen asks how Hope knows that number and what the connection is between her dreams and the mysterious numbers that keep haunting her. Before she can get an answer, the call suddenly cuts off, and she sees the ghost of Max, the grabber's axe still stuck in his head. Finn arrives and wakes her. Shaken, Gwen tells him she was speaking to Hope, whom she realized was their mother, but she still doesn't understand the meaning of her message. The next morning, Gwen shows Finn a camp brochure. She insists her dream wasn't a hallucination and that the camp is real. She wants to apply there as a counselor. Finn disagrees, but their father suddenly joins the conversation, saying their mother once worked at that same camp before it was shut down in 1958. Though uncertain, Finn finally agrees to let her go. Ernesto offers her a ride, and at the last moment, Finn changes his mind and decides to go with them. Their trip continues through a heavy snowstorm. Ernesto struggles to see the road, so Finn gets out to guide the car. Through the thick fog, they see a mysterious girl on horseback leading them in the right direction. Following her, they finally reach a quiet, empty camp. Armando greets them and explains that all camp activities have been canceled due to the storm. The three have no choice but to stay there until the weather clears. Armando assigns them separate rooms, following the camp's old rules. That night, while Gwen sleeps, Finn steps outside to smoke. She has another nightmare about a camper from the camp's music band. The boy becomes the grabber's next victim. Before sinking into the ice, he carves the letter H. Gwen wakes up gasping for air, and the old phone outside rings again and again. Finn finally gathers the courage to answer it. On the other end, he hears the grabber's cold voice saying, "Hell isn't fire, it's ice." Back in Gwen's dream, she sees the three dead boys. One of the boys grabs her arm, burning her skin. Gwen screams, and Finn rushes in to calm her down. Later, Gwen confides in Ernesto, telling him about her nightmares and her fear of going insane like her mother once did. Too scared to sleep alone, she stays beside Ernesto and prays for God's protection. Ernesto reassures her, calling her brave and strong. As they lean closer, Finn suddenly ruins the moment.
The next morning, things start to feel stranger. Gwen shows a scar on her body that matches the mark she saw in her dream. During breakfast, Armando tells them the snowstorm will trap everyone there for several more days. He introduces his nephew, Mustang, and two other staff members who help maintain the camp. Curious, Armando asks Gwen and Finn why they came, since their names aren't on any church or camp records. Gwen calmly explains that their late mother once worked there as a counselor 7 years before she died. At first, Armando doesn't remember, but when Gwen shows him an old photo of her mother, he freezes. He softly says a name only a few people would know: Starlight. Finn, still suspicious, asks about the old phone in the building. Armando explains that the line has been dead for over 10 years. Suddenly, he hears a faint ringing again. He runs to the phone and picks it up, hearing distant voices, the same ones from the grabber's other victims, lost and unable to move on. Meanwhile, the snowstorm outside grows worse. Their father, still in the city, becomes worried because he can't reach his children. Gwen tries to learn more about the lake's history, but there are no records or archives mentioning the place at all. When she asks the camp workers about it, they refuse to talk, acting as if they're hiding something dark. That night, Gwen dreams of her mother standing in front of the same phone booth. Suddenly, a young boy appears in the distance, and Gwen runs after him as red feathers fall from the sky like drops of blood. Before she reaches him, another child appears, and Gwen wakes up in shock. A girl is standing outside her door. At that moment, the phone rings loudly, making Finn panic and wake Ernesto. Gwen sees the same ghostly children again and follows them into the empty kitchen. Finn answers the phone and hears the grabber's furious voice, threatening to come and kill him. When Ernesto realizes Gwen is gone, he rushes to find her. In the kitchen, Gwen comes face to face with the grabber, who accuses Finn of making him kill his own brother. Now he plans to take Gwen's life in revenge. Before he can attack, Ernesto and the camp staff arrive, only to see Gwen being lifted and thrown by an invisible force. Finn runs to help her as the spirits turn violent, lashing out at everyone before finally vanishing into thin air. After things calm down, tension rises among the group. A woman named Barbara accuses Gwen of being possessed, but Mustang argues that everyone has been seeing strange things lately. Gwen then explains that the deaths she saw in her dreams match the cases of missing children from years ago. Armando's face turns pale. He realizes only he and the police knew the details of the boy who was burned in that area. The situation grows even more shocking when everyone learns that Finn is actually Finney, the teenager who killed the grabber years ago. Armando shows them an old photograph from 1957 of their mother standing beside a man once known as Will, the same kidnapper. He admits he used to visit the camp after it was shut down, continuing his search for the missing children. Finn stares at the photo and realizes that the man haunting his dreams is that same person. Armando also reveals that since 1978, strange events have repeatedly occurred around the lake.
Gwen realizes the camp is where his murders began. She also knows that finding the boys' bodies in the lake and setting their spirits free will remove the grabber's powers. Because no investigation was ever done under the ice, their bodies may still be buried there. With firm resolve, Gwen, Finn, and Ernesto decide to return to the lake at dawn to end the curse haunting the place forever.
That night, Armando looks at old photos of his son who disappeared long ago. And suddenly the old radio on his desk turns on by itself, playing Will's eerie voice. Moments later, all the lights in the house go out. Holding a flashlight, Armando points it toward the window and sees the grabber again, now covered with blood. Will's haunting voice echoes through the dark, warning him of something approaching. The next morning, they head to the frozen lake, scraping away layers of ice in hopes of finding the missing children's bodies. But as the day fades into evening, they still find nothing. No sign of the lost souls beneath the ice. As everyone goes to bed, Finney and Ernesto take turns watching over Gwen while she sleeps. In her dream, she sees the same visions her mother once saw, of Billy, the preeper boy who was the first child taken by the grabber. Hope realizes that Wild Bill is the killer and rushes to his house, where she finds Billy, but the grabber captures her instead. He kills Hope and stages her death as a suicide, leaving her hanging for Terrence to find. The grabber then turns on Gwen, slashing her arm with an axe, causing her to bleed both in the dream and in reality. Suddenly, a young boy appears and helps her escape, while in the real world, everyone tries desperately to wake her. The phone rings again as Armando heads outside to search for the missing children. There, the same man appears and attacks him, breaking the ice and trapping Gwen inside the phone booth. Armando falls into the freezing water, struggling to survive. The grabber wraps a rope around Gwen's neck, trying to choke her. Amid the terror, Gwen realizes something. In her dream, she isn't completely under the grabber's control. She focuses her willpower and shatters the phone booth with her mind. She jolts awake, runs outside, and pulls Armando from the icy lake. Miraculously, he's still alive. And beneath the ice, they finally find one of the missing children's bodies. Terrence arrives at the camp driving a snowplow after receiving a call about what happened. Gwen refuses to leave until they find Cal and Spike's bodies too. She confronts Finney about how he's been dealing with his trauma. Finney breaks down, saying no one understands what he went through or how hard it is to live with it every day. Gwen then proves her gift is real by telling Terrence she saw the moment he blamed himself after finding Hope's body. Terrence finally believes her and agrees to help. The group spends the next day searching for the two missing boys, but by nightfall, they still find nothing. As Gwen begins to drift asleep, the grabber attacks, striking Kenneth with his axe, then dragging him across the ice, slamming him into Barb and breaking her nose. Terrence dives into the freezing lake as Dream Gwen helps from the other side, using her power to push the barrels containing Cal and Spike's bodies to the surface. Enraged, the grabber tears off his mask, revealing his rotting face. He goes after Finney for revenge, but Finney fights back. Once the boys are freed, the grabber loses his power. Finney smashes his face into the ice again and again, while Gwen finishes him off. The ghost children appear and drag the grabber into the water, pulling him back to his icy hell. Gwen wakes up and kisses Ernesto. The next morning, Armando calls the boys' families, finally giving them closure. As Gwen and Finney prepare to leave, the payphone rings one last time. Gwen answers and hears Hope's voice. Hope tells her daughter she's proud of her before hanging up. Gwen bursts into tears, then tells Finney what she heard. Together with Terrence and Ernesto, they head home as the sun rises over the silent, thawing lake.